It's Matt Santacapita from the Mulligan Realty Group, and this is another episode of our Monday Market Update. Yes, I've got short hair. I cut it last week as part of our announcement for our merger with the Mulligan Realty Group. Ryan and myself have known each other forever. We have collaborated as teams, I guess, ever since Ryan entered the real estate world, we could say. And I cut my hair because I thought it would be funny. For those who do not know Ryan, Ryan is bald and his brother Mike is bald and Kyle, who's on his team, is bald. So Ryan made a funny comment that in order for the merger to feel right, I'd have to be bald. And well, I'm not going to be bald, but I thought I'd cut my hair because it'd be funny. Anyways, on to our Monday market update. This one's going to be a little different. I'm going to go through the numbers. I'm not going to make too much commentary on this past week's numbers. What I do want to talk about is fixed rate mortgages and things to look for 2024. There's a couple massive things happening in 2024 from a financial sector standpoint that could be unpleasant. I'm just going to say it that way. I'll get into it in about a minute. But anyways, let's jump into the numbers. So new listings for the past week in London came in at 138. Conditionals conditionally sold at 46. Sold pending, we're at 94. Nice to see that number almost hitting the 100. Probably going to cross it next week or two. And then price decreases, 24, which is kind of a pretty standard number. New listings has stayed relatively in the 130s, 140 range. We probably will start to see that number creep up in the coming weeks. That is going to be weather dependent. So we do have warm weather this week. We're getting another snow dumping, which will probably cause another lull in the market. And then once we're through that, everybody's going to wake up and realize spring is right around the corner, and then real estate's going to pick up. Now, what do I want to talk about when it comes to fixed rate mortgages for 2024? Well, and if you notice, I'm going to be looking at my different screens because I want to make sure I get the numbers right. So one thing that I've been looking at for the past, year, and really more so for the last 3 months is U.S. debt sales or treasuries. And why that's important is what started to happen towards the tail end of last year is the United States had a harder time selling its debt. Now, the reason for that is, well, we have global conflicts, so there's fewer buyers. We'll just leave it at that. But that is the true explanation, is that there are just fewer buyers globally for American debt. Now, why is 2024 important? 2024 is important because in the United States this year, they're going to actually... a record 8.9 trillion of government debt will mature. And they're also going to, they have a budget deficit in the United States in 2024 that's projected to be 1.4 trillion. So they need to come up with $10 trillion. Now, you might be saying, great, Matt, that's the United States. We live in Canada. Well, here's the problem, though, is that global debt market, countries' debt markets, it's global. So whatever happens in the United States echoes here. And what has started to happen during their recent treasury sales is they're not selling all their treasuries, or they're not getting the interest that they kind of thought they would. And why that's important is, well, again, 2024, they've never tried to sell $10 trillion of debt in a year. So the question that's going to come up as they do this during the year is, well, what happens if there's no buyers? Well, if there's no buyers, the bond yields get pushed up. So what that means is, they have to incentivize investors to purchase the debt, which means they basically make the return better. Now, why that matters in Canada is when you look at, and we'll put the links down below for these topics, when you look at the Canadian 5-year benchmark bond yield, why that's important, that basically gives you a bit of an idea of where the 5-year fixed rate mortgage is going to go. It bumped up a few weeks ago. Now it's come down, but it bumped up. And why did it bump up? It bumped up during U.S. Treasury sales. And why was that? The reason is, again, the United States government had to incentivize buyers of U.S. debt to invest in US debt instead of going and investing in Canadian debt or European debt or whatever other debt they want to buy. So this is going to be something that we're going to want to track, because at the end of the day, if the United States cannot recapitalize their debt or sell their debt, it's going to force yields up. Now, when I say yields, that essentially means call it the interest rate on certain things up. And fixed money in Canada will probably jump up and down this year. But what will be interesting is once we start to see these much bigger treasury sales that are going on, how they get affected, and then what is that echoing effect into the Canadian markets. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because it is very important for 2024 for us to really, I'm going to say, do things the right way. And what I mean by that is don't make renewing your mortgage a last minute thing. Don't make applying for a mortgage a last minute occurrence. We need to really seriously look at moving that side of things to the front end of buying a home, and not just dealing with it when like, oh, I just found the house that I want, and now I'll dot my I's and cross my T's on my mortgage, because rates could be going up and down during that time frame. So it's a very important year for having early conversations with your lender, your mortgage agent, however you want to word it. And if you need help with that, please reach out. We're always here to help. After all, again, and I'll just give you some context here. We saw, 20 basis points difference from January 26th to today. Now, it dropped in that time frame, but before that, let's say on January 15th, the 5-year bond yield was 3.27, and then it went to 3.57. Now, that's not huge, but if all of a sudden the United States can't sell $5 trillion, I have no idea where these yields go. So I'll leave you with that. Again, it's Matt Santagapita with the Mulligan Realty Group. This has been another episode of our Money Market Update.